Welcome, guys, once again. This time, I want to start. I have done a reading for Stray Kids, and some of the subscribers had asked me for individual readings of them. And I want to start slowly since I know that there are a lot of members, so it's going to take a while. I have started with ATs also, but I want to dedicate also to Stray Kids since I find it really a good experience since I don't know much about these boy groups except for watching their MVs sometime when they come out or listen to some songs that are popular in that moment, but I don't know much about the dynamics, so it's really a good opportunity for me and also an exercise to see if the interpretations that I get are accurate. So I do appreciate the recommendations and the feedback from the fans. Um, in this case, I wanted to do Hyunjin's because I know he had been involved lately in um, some kind of rumor scandal regarding bullying, and we know that there's a lot of sensitivity when it comes to that matter, especially in South Korea, and especially how they react when this comes from supposedly celebrities or idols or I don't know. So I want to see how he's doing. I want to know a little bit more about him. So this reading is going to be dedicated to him. So I had seen a little bit about his energies in his birth chart, in Hyunjin's birth chart, and what I can say is that I find it interesting. He's a Pisces. I had always had this perception of him as an Aries because somehow his birthday is like in this middle where somehow he could be at what we call it in astrology a cusp where he can be between the energies because he's like leaving Pisces and about to enter Aries season. So I had always had this perception of him as actually um, being more Aries like, especially in personality wise, because I know physically he does look like a Pisces person because he does have this kind of dreamy, out of this world um, uh, uh, appearance where he seems almost like a fairy or some kind of angel because and he's very handsome and very beautiful that it seems like he's almost like genderless, for so to speak, so to say. It's a way of saying. But I have sensed Aries energy in him. I don't know why. And then I have seen a few of his energies. Of course, we do not have, I don't know if the birth chart that I had seen is accurate actually. I don't know if the fans had access to his birth time maybe, so but from what I could see, he is a Pisces with a moon in Virgo, and Venus also in Pisces, Mercury in Pisces. There are a lot of Pisces, but at the same time his Mars is in Aries. So this is what I have sensed in him because, like I had already talked a little bit about the Mars influence in a birth chart, is that Mars somehow rules our behaviors, our action, actually, the way how we act and how we react. And despite of him being this really Piscean kind of energy, I have the feelings that he, when he performs, when he reacts, he somehow gives me Aries vibes. Like he can be really blunt if he wants to, or very masculine if he wants to, or very straightforward in some things. So maybe it was the influence of that Mars that, unfortunately for him, Mars is a planet that rules Aries. So him being a Mars in Aries give him a lot of um, potency, and gives him a lot of stamina and a lot of strength, especially physical strength, and give him this kind of warrior vibe that if he has to use his body to work with it, or to use it somehow for his own development, um, as an individual, as to achieve his goals in his life, this Aries, this Mars in Aries, will help him to um, somehow um, like to build that fire inside of him and go out and take action. Because somehow when you're a Pisces, or when you have like a lot of planets in Pisces, sometimes you can be a little bit like, I wouldn't say lazy, but somehow you can stay too much in dreamland. They tend to daydream a lot, so they somehow, maybe in their head, they fantasize about what they want to accomplish, but it's hard for them to take it into action, to act on it, or maybe to start some kind of project, or some kind of to be assertive. It's like a lot of Pisces energy sometimes is hard for them to be assertive in life. But in the case of him having this Mars in Aries, it gives some kind of fire um, to this kind of um, dreamy nature that he has, because he also his moon in Virgo. Sometimes moon in Virgo, despite Virgo being very rational and Virgo being the opposite sign to Pisces, when you combine those two, it tends to make someone really dreamy when it comes to that, really even psychic, very spiritual somehow. It takes a while for them to get in touch with that aspect, because the moon in Virgo actually tends to denial everything that has to do with the spirituality. They do not believe it because they cannot see it. They have not like evidence, like material proof, but somehow when they grow up, they start to get in touch with that more sensitive and spiritual uh, side of themselves. But in the first years of their youth, of them growing up, they somehow fear this kind of intuition that they have, or this kind of perception, of this kind of, like, sometimes having this wisdom that they don't know where it comes from, but they are like this old soul that just knows things. So for one person that has this kind of similar energy is Shugas from BTS, Yoongi. He is a Pisces with a Venus, with a moon in Virgo, so he has also this kind of, like, he seems really detached sometimes, like he seems like a bit like cold, but actually he's really sensitive. And that's why he puts on this mask of him being like the really distant, because he's too intuitive. So sometimes when you're too intuitive, you need to put some boundaries between the other person's energy and yours. So let's start with the archetype cards that came out for Hyunjin. The cards that came out is Monk, Damsel, and Whisperer. So the Monk, yes, it gives me really this moon in Virgo vibes. Actually, people that have like our Virgo sun or Virgo rising has this Monk. Um, and actually, this monk, this archetypes, talks a little bit about being devoted, being selfless, being devoted to the spirit, or to some kind of belief, or some kind of whatever your system of belief is. If you believe in God, if you believe in the universe, if you believe in Mother Earth, they somehow are really devoted to believing that there's something higher, than us, that is somehow ruling us, and that we have to be respectful and we have to be aware of its influence in our lives, and especially be humble about it and be devoted and not ask so many questions. So somehow being like a monk is sometimes being too, maybe too humble, or being like a little bit like blind by spirituality. It's like whenever, wherever he believes in, he has this potential danger of maybe believing, being too devoted to something, like to some cause, because it's like he's spiritual, so somehow he connects with, uh, it's like there's like this kind of maybe some religion or some practices that somehow come into his life, and he adopts them because there's this spiritual um, syntony that he has, that is like, and whenever he finds, for example, he can find a really nice way of living, for example, I don't know, Buddhism, or I don't know, maybe if he's Catholic or he's other religion, each of them has their ups and downs, but there are different kinds of beliefs, and it would be nice for him to find a proper system of belief of a proper religion. I wouldn't advise religion, but maybe a religion that can somehow provide for him a good good examples and good values, and not to take advantage of him. So because he has this perception that if it's, if they talk, for example, if they talk about God, that somehow these people, or this preacher, or these people that are from this religion are worth to be respected. And sometimes when you are too devoted, you somehow lose your sense of reality, and you don't question yourself, your faith, because he has this tendency of being too devoted. So he has to be careful about where he puts, where he invests that this devotion, because he can be a little, he can be tricked maybe by some kind of religion or organization, because he somehow is such a strong believer in a person's goodwill, or in someone's good nature, that he doesn't see entirely what things are about. And the next card is big. That's why I was thinking about he being really vulnerable, because the next card that came out for him is damsel. So we know that damsel is an archetype that talks sometimes about being a little bit like being a little bit like sensitive, and sometimes being a little bit pure and innocent. Is that he believes in having like healthy bonds and loving bonds with people, loving relationships based in respect and trust, and he truly believes in people's good sides. But actually this tendency can sometimes put him in situations where there are people that are not as nice as they say. So somehow he has this vulnerability that is almost like too obvious. There's something about him that is like, if you observe him enough, you are able to tell that he is a sensitive soul. It's like he doesn't try to hide that he is sensitive, or that he is innocent, or there's something pure about him, and also naive. So when you are this vulnerable, sometimes you have all these, like these people that I call like these emotional vampires, or these kind of manipulative people, that they take advantage of these vulnerable children, or these are vulnerable young adults, that somehow It's like he goes around without knowing how to protect his own energy and his own gift, because I have the sense that he's really intuitive, but somehow he's so intuitive that sometimes he blinds himself. He is not really, he gets carried away by someone's emotions. For example, if someone comes to him and tells him a sad story about how they are going through a rough time, or how um, they are, I don't know, they are in need of some kind of help, he will be totally willing to go and help that person, and maybe give them even give them material things that maybe, I don't know, for him are really precious, or maybe are like a bit expensive, but he somehow believes in it and he wants to help. And it's like he's not able yet, because he will eventually, because this is part of growing up, eventually to see that sometimes you have to be a little bit selective when it comes to who you spend time with or who you give your time to, and especially who you have next to you. Because when you have all this intuitive energy, I have also talked this a lot about other members, other idols that have this kind of sensitivity, is that somehow they are like this human sponge, emotional sponge, where they absorb everything from others, and it's like they carry this baggage of others in them, and somehow it drains them, and it steals their own energy, their own vitality, their own strength. So sometimes being an empath or being someone intuitive, it means that you can be kind, yes, but you also have to learn to be selective. You cannot go around life spreading, oh yes, please use me, please ask me for favors, I'm here to serve you. And I know that this also has to do with this combination of him, this this Pisces Sun and Moon in Virgo, that actually both of them, what they have in common is this ability to serve and this capacity to serve others. So sometimes they serve and they are so selfless that they end up giving all their power away. So he needs to start to be selective. And unfortunately, life is going to lead him to situations where things are going to be so confusing for him and are going to look so bad for him, because somehow he didn't know how to put boundaries to some bad influences around him. Because it's not that he he didn't, it's just that he sometimes he tries to see the good side of everything, that sometimes he ignores the red flags of some people's behavior or some people's intention. So with all these archetype cards that I'm seeing, I'm wondering, and I'm almost like questioning whether these rumors are true or not, because I have the feeling that he somehow is involved in a situation where I wouldn't say bullying. There wasn't bullying, but there was like some shouting, or maybe like a very like bossy and dictatorial way of speaking or screaming to someone, and somehow they look this this situation looked so bad, and he was involved in that group. I mean, he wasn't the one yelling, maybe, or maybe he was, but somehow it wasn't what he did, it was more so that he didn't react. It was like he was part of this group, and somehow this group, you know, when you are part of a group and somehow it's like you become part of the group energy, and it's like you become one with that group. and maybe that group was being a little bit harsh or a little bit like uh, egoistic, or maybe a little bit like, yes, like offensive somehow. But I have this feeling of masculinity, of being like masculine and being like talking down to you because it's like they feel like they are very man like, that maybe men behave that way. And it's like he was involved in this environment. So it's like he got included um, in this scandal situation because he was in there with them. I don't know, maybe if someone knows the details of this supposedly rumor, but I have the feeling that wherever it was, it's very far away from his true nature. I believe uh, he is really sensitive, so it's hard for me to believe that he was involved in something like this voluntarily and consciously. So I don't know, maybe if someone can clarify that for me, it will help me a lot to understand what I'm seeing this. So I appreciate it. And the last card is the whisperer. That, yes, the whisperer is someone that through words can communicate and can make a deep connection with others, and also evokes everyone's trust, and is very considerate towards other people's feelings. So maybe he has this ability to create like a very intimate environment with the one he's talking to, so this person somehow feels safe with him and trusts him, and is able to open up and talk about their struggles, talk about really hard truths, and and talking maybe about sharing with him about some traumas, about some painful experience. It's like he's a good um, he's really good at building that trust with the other person, so that the other person, whenever they are engaging in a conversation with him, can go from, I don't know, talking about really superficial things to somehow entering into a very profound matter or such subject. And it's like, and this is because he enables this connection. He enables and makes the other person feel secure enough to open up. So, and there's also something about his voice or the way he talks. It's like he has um this soothing voice, or this way of um, modulating. Like he has this very calming and this very profound, that is, that it evokes you to just trust him, and just let your whole guard down, and somehow you open your heart to him, and you tell him your truth. You tell him what is really going on with you inside, which is a wonderful tool. Which, I don't know, it's hard for me to believe that he had something to do with that scandal. Maybe I'm getting too carried away with his energy, and maybe if he did get involved, I have the feeling that he is deeply regretful about it, because I don't see him as actively being bullied to someone, but maybe with him being a Pisces, that I said that when you are involved in Pisces energy, everything is confusive, everything is all about confusion, because Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and Neptune is all about clouding things, about making things appear a way that they are not. So sometimes Pisces people tend to get into very confusive situations that they don't know how they end up there, but somehow their attitude, and somehow this because it's like they're always daydreaming, and somehow they are not really present when things happen. So maybe this avoidance kind of attitude that they have somehow makes people believe that they agree to certain things that they had not said it with words. Yes, I agree to this. I just happen to be here with this group, and I don't know, uh, something like that. The cards that came out for him, it's the Ten of Cups, the card of the Karma, Two of Swords, Ace of Pentacles, the Magician, Page of Pentacles, Seven of Swords, the Moon, the Hangman, and the Eight of Pentacles. So he definitely he feels really nice when he's surrounded by people. He's in a process that he's taking all this to get close to his loved ones, especially his family and the members. He's seeing this as an opportunity to change a few things about himself. That's what I was saying. This is a process of him realizing that even though maybe he didn't mean this to happen, somehow it happened to teach him a lesson. To teach him a lesson a bit about being more aware or about being more present, because but at the same time I wouldn't blame him because I don't know when this happened, but if it was in his teenage years, I mean, come on, we had all been teenagers. We had all been part of a group or part of a class. Uh, I'm not I'm not taking or implying responsibility out of the situation. I know that bullying is something that it can affect someone for the rest of their lives and create a severe trauma. But somehow, when I'm reading for him, I have the feeling that this this is not actually bullying. I don't know why. Maybe someone can explain to me what happened. But there's something. This is a misunderstanding. This is this is someone that it's the perception of someone that is acting out of rage and envy. So I don't know if this rumor is true. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I need more information on this, but this is what I'm getting here. So with the Two of Swords, it talks about that he's like choosing between his heart and his mind. He's balancing things out. He's trying to make the right decisions for himself. I believe he feels guilty somehow because he doesn't know how he ended up in this, but somehow he is like a reality is finally hitting him. So that's what I was saying when I saw the damsel, um, because the damsel sometimes is someone that somehow goes really like helpless through life and goes really like in this almost like in this very light spirit, and somehow when things go wrong it's like they expect someone to help them because somehow they didn't have the power or the will enough to stand up for themselves. So it's something about that. It's like he was acting in automatic, like going with the flow. That is really very Pisces, like this about not taking sides and actually, like fusing himself with a group or with a group in particular, and not actually responding to his own desires or his own values. It's like he was following a group values, but he wasn't entirely into that. So that's why I don't know. Maybe the remorse is from there. But this happened so he can see reality for what it is, but because he needs to ground himself, he needs to connect with this moon in Virgo that can help him to be a little bit more like assertive and a little and make and being a little bit more responsible about his influence, because somehow he's not longer that child when he was or the teenage. He needs to step up and own his own power and influence, because he has a lot and he had always had a lot of influence. He had always had this kind of luck. This he had always been really lucky, really like this golden child. Wherever he goes, wherever he went, he was like, he always stood up. So sometimes he didn't know what to do with that power, because somehow he was brought up, or he was taught to be humble, this monk mentality, to blend in, and not to get not to be cocky, and not to and blend in with people, and not stood up, or not being not caught anyone's attention, to be humble, to keep your head down. So that's why sometimes he somehow gets carried away in these situations where he wasn't able to lift up his head and say, no, I don't agree with this. um, and now he has to own this status of him, and he also needs to start, like, because it's like this fear that he has for ruining everything he had accomplished, and ruining it for everyone else, that he now is starting to see his value and his impact in other people's life. He hasn't been able to recognize yet what his value is, and his accomplishments. So now that he was about to lose it all, he somehow got scared, and he somehow got like shook by reality. That not everyone is nice, not everyone wants the best for you, that sometimes the world is a cruel place, and he needs to stop to open his eyes more and be selective. Be Open your eyes wide, open it, and be able to see people for who they are. Don't make excuses for them. Just see who they are and face them. Because this also talks about this Mars in Aries in him. Because he can be really Pisces and he can be really peaceful, but this Mars in Aries is calling him to take action and to speak his truth, to be blunt, to be brave. He needs to be brave. He needs to take lead of his actions, and he needs to be more proactive. In order for him to be more successful, he needs to own his power. He needs to own his ability, because he was born to be a star. He was born to be magnificent. But somehow, I don't understand why, but there's this sense of being too humble, and sometimes being a little bit like too willing to sacrifice for others, that he is somehow uh, giving away his power, and his he's shining, because he shines, because he's a star. He was born to be a star. It's just that somehow they make him feel guilty for standing out, for being different, and for being, I don't know, being beautiful in Korean standards. I don't know, but there's something about his talents that somehow they were like, oh, you should like try to tone it down, don't be like that. So I don't know what it's about, but he's getting there. He's getting to recognize his true nature, that he is more than this monk, or these people that needs to be safe, or these people that needs to bow to others. He's more than that. He's a powerful man, and he needs to take his power, because otherwise there's always going to be someone like more influential than him, and is going to come and take his power away from him, and take all the credit for him. So he has to be brave in order to not let that happen. um and the next cards are the Magician, the Page of Pentacles, and Seven of Swords. So I haven't seen him. I haven't seen a match of Kingdom, but I believe that maybe he is performing with the group. I believe he is. I haven't seen anything, but I think I saw him. I think I saw a small clip, and I believe it was him, but it was hard for me to recognize him because I didn't see his blonde hair. So I don't know if he dyed his hair, but please educate me in the comment section. um, And but somehow this all this going back to training, and that this process of the competition is going to be really tough. I had already said it. It's good to all the groups involved, especially the new groups, the new generation. It's going to be really hard for them to stand out and actually to be ahead. So I don't know. I had said it in the IT's reading. There's something fishy about Kingdom. I don't like it. But well, it will be a good promotion, that I can say. So he's going to feel really good and connecting with this energy of action into himself by working and studying and training a lot for this. But there's also a part of him that talks about feeling guilty. He feels guilty somehow. He feels um, like he feels really like ashamed, like he feels like really ashamed of himself, like he feels like he recognized that he somehow was a bit coward, that he should have said something or should have done something. So this is what I was talking about. When you have all these elusive kind of energy in yourself and you are like taught to be this kind of submissive person, it's like when you are able to reconnect, because he's able to reconnect with his power now in his idol training, and now sharing with other young people that also want to achieve a success for themselves and want to give their best. So he's now entering into this very hardworking and this very he's using his power, he's using his talent. That's what it was for. He was meant to be this way, but somehow he feels guilty. He feels really ashamed, and he questions why he is like that. Why he sometimes he feels like he doesn't have the will to speak his truth. Sometimes, whenever I don't know, maybe a discussion happens or some like very or maybe like some events that are very aggressive, or some situations where the tension is really high, he somehow evades himself. He somehow it's like he does this um, out of body experience. You know, when he leaves his body, he's sitting in the room, but somehow he's not there. His conscious is not there. He just goes elsewhere with his mind, with his spirit, because he doesn't like conflict actually. But when you are a Mars in Scorpio, I mean a Mars in Aries, somehow conflict is going to follow you, because this is the way for you to step up and use that aggressive energy. Because Aries is about waking up the warrior inside of you. So if these situations happen, is for him to take this energy, to take this passion, to take this fire and use it, not to hold it in, not to try to be always the nice, pleasant guy. No, to speak your truth, stand out, stand up for yourself, because no one else will. If you don't tell your truth, no one else will. And he has this tendency of evade himself every time something like really I believe this was traumatic for him, because he didn't know that this would have such an impact. But we know the media. We know, I have talked about it, about a lot of idols that go through these scandals, and some of them do take responsibility. I mean, are responsible, and I believe that there's responsibility in these kinds of situations. But at the same time, we don't have to forget that these things are coming out because they are famous, and because some people are cloud chasers. And I don't mean his ex classmates, I mean the media. The media is hungry for seeing these idols roll in the dirt. They want to see them fall. They want to see them fall because their work, the promotion of their work is about talking about the disgraces of these idols, about how these idols are not perfect. Oh, they are not who they say they were. So we have a lot of content so we can talk about them for months and months, and we can put aside the real tragedies that are currently happening. So it's a business, guy. It's a business. Um, so this is what I'm getting because I'm reading him. I'm not biased. I'm not trying to take insights. I believe that bullying is a serious action that needs to that people need to be accountable for it, and there should be a lesson. But I wonder why the, why this is glamorized somehow, because I see it in K dramas all the time, and I have heard stories about it, and it's really magnified. Like, I don't know why it's so glamorized and no one is actually doing something to prevent it in real life. Instead of talking to the press about it, like, are you promoting the change to these students' reality? Are you building a program? Are you talking to the students? Are you being active about it? Because it's not just about like posting a hashtag. It's about putting your whole self to work. So it's about educating ourselves, especially emotionally. And they don't have a lot of emotional, not any country. I include my country. There's no there's no emotional education. That's why sometimes people tend to go to these idols, and sometimes they hold on so tight to what idols say and do because they have no significant others in their life that can educate them, that can influence them in a positive way. So that's why some people turn to maybe uh, an idol saying, have a good day, an idol saying that they love them, an idol promoting love and respect. And there are young people, and there are people of my age also and older that take these messages really, really hard. They take it really profound in their heart and they cherish it because they don't have that in their real life. So we should wonder why we put such a pressure on these entertainers, on these artists. What's going on in our real life that we no longer have these role models, or that we don't no longer have someone that can like wake us up with a positive word, with a positive feedback. What's going on? What's going on in our relationships? So I'm going to leave it here, guys, because the time is running out, but and I'm getting too emotional. So, but this was emotional because there's like something here that I cannot. It's like I cannot figure out what's going on, but there's something here that is not what it seems. So I'm really like annoyed by it. But I'm going to say that the last card is the Eight of Pentacles, so it definitely means that he will start connecting more with this moon in Virgo that is all about working on details, and he's going to start like some kind of study or some kind of craft or some kind of activity that can allow him to be more efficient in his own job and in his own personality. He wants to learn, he wants to open his mind, he's eager to gain more knowledge, he wants to be uh, wiser, he wants to know things. I think he's already waking up, and he's like thinking that instead of following like, I don't know, some guru or someone and say like, oh yes, this person said this phrase, this must be, no, he's learning to become this, to build this wisdom within himself, because he has it, because somehow in a previous life maybe he was a monk himself. So that's why he sometimes somehow in this life he acts in a very like humble, in a very like very like selfless way, because he somehow carries that experience with him. But he now is in other state. He is in a state that he is a published figure, so he is in the public eye, so he needs to build himself to become stronger and to become more knowledgeable and to also gain more wisdom so he can be a better version of himself. So I'm going to leave it, guys, here. So thank you so much for being here. Please give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much. Bye.